In this video, we want to talk about reducing risk. Over the last 40 years, we've transitioned from a country that most employees work for companies that had pensions. Those companies put the money away, they managed it, and they guaranteed the payout, to the more common retirement vehicle today is the 401k. And the underlying investment in the 401k is the stock market or mutual funds. And as a result, we have taken on a great deal more risk in our retirement planning process than we've ever had in the past. So what we want to do is look at the market over the last 20 years. We're going to start with the year 2000, go to the year 2019. So that's a 20-year span, and you can see that the average rate of return was 7.63. We want to show you what would happen if you had $100,000 in an account earning 8% every year for 8 years. At the end of 8 years, you'd have $170,000 in that account. Now, it just so happens that in the year 2008, we had a downturn in the market that was nearly 40%. And so that was the 9th year from the year 2000. So if we look here, so we had 170, but after that 40% decline, the next year, we only had $101,000 in our account. So a significant reduction. And by the way, up until that point in time, the market had averaged, if we had gotten 8% every single year, the effective yield after fees, and we're assuming about a 1% fee in your 401k account, it would have been nearly 7%. So you'd have $170,794 in the account. But a year later, after the market downturn, you'd only have 101, and your rate of return has dropped to 0.16%. It's not even 1/4% for that entire 9-year period of time. That is something that most people don't realize, how devastating these market downturns can be. So what would it take to get you back to your $170,000? Well, let's go to the 10th year and see what would happen. It would take a return of 70% to get you back to the 170 that you were at just 2 years earlier. And so if you could get that rate of return in the next year, your effective yield would be about 5.5%. But we know that more than likely the market's not going to go up 70%, so it might take 2 or 3 years just for you to get back to even. Well, let's take a look at it under actual market conditions. And so in order to do that, we're going to bring up another screen. And in this screen, we're looking at the 8 years starting and including the year 2000. And we know that in 2000, the market lost a little over 9%. In 2001, it lost nearly 12%. And in 2002, it lost nearly 22%. So there's no question that starting out with $100,000, you're not going to be looking very good for the first 3 years. And then the market came back. And at the end of 8 years, there's $105,000 in the account. The effective yield, though, during that period of time was 0.64%, less than 1%. So if you were getting close to retirement in the year 2000, if you were 10 or 15 years away, you'd be kind of concerned about what was happening with your account. Now, again, we're also showing a 1% management fee inside your 401k. And just a side note, most studies have shown that the average 401k, the fees run closer to 2.5% to 3%, not 1%. So this is a very conservative estimate of what your fees might be. Well, let's take a look at what would happen then, or what did happen to everybody in this country in 2008. That's 9 years down the road. There was almost a 37% decline in the market. And so now we went from $105,000 in our account in year 8. In year 9, we've got $66,000, and we're showing a rate of return of a 4.5% loss. Now, again, what we've done over the last 40 years is shifted from safety and certainty to potential risk in the market. And this is what actually happened to people during this 9-year period of time. Well, so let's take a look at how long it took to get back to even. It took another 4 years, or from the 9th year all the way to the 13th year, to get back to, remember in year 8 you had about 105,000. Now in year 13 you've got 108. So we're a little over, we're a little better than even. Our rate of return, though, is still 0.65%. That is an extremely low rate for a 13-year period of time. Well, let's take it out a little bit further. Let's look at the full 20 years. So this is exactly what has happened over the last 20 years, from 2000, including 2000, all the way through 2019. Now we have a more respectable return, nearly 5% over that 20-year period of time, and we now have an account balance of $264,000. But what happens if we have another losing year? And it looks like this taping is done in the year 2020, which is 21 years from the beginning of the year 2000. So let's look at what happens if we had another 40% loss. And by the way, if we add up these 3 losing years, it's about 43%. This is a little less than 40%. So we're just looking at what would happen if in the 21st year of our retirement plan, if we lost 40%. Now, again, we've gone from $214,000 at our high point down to $156,000, and our effective yield is only 2.17%. So we have been working on a retirement for 21 years, and our effective yield is 2.17%. Now, we're showing kind of a simple explanation here that shows a lump sum of money. There will be additional factors and the numbers will look a little bit differently if we're looking at when you were putting money in. Let's say you were putting money into your 401k. It would depend upon when you put it in. Was there a match? When was the match put in? So these numbers could be different, and they might be a little bit better. They could be worse. But we wanted to give you an idea of the impact of market risk and market volatility. And just to kind of put it into final perspective, we're going to take a look at what if you had accumulated $1 million in 2000 or at the end of 1999. And so the numbers would look like this. You would have started with $1 million. You ended up with $1,568,926, which that should be a very decent retirement account. Even though you only had an effective yield of 2.17, I think you'd be happy about that. The challenge, though, is what happens if you actually retired. You began your retirement in the year 2000. Now, I recognize that's probably the worst time that you could have retired, but there was a lot of people in this country that retired in the year 2000. And if we tried to take 6% out of our account, or $60,000, now think about this. We're talking about taking $60,000 a year out of $1 million account. That should work out just fine, you would think. But unfortunately, as you can see, in the 15th year, we run out of money. Halfway through the 15th year, there is not enough money in our account because of market risk, market fluctuation, and volatility. Unless we made some adjustment prior to that, we would be completely out of money. So $1 million retirement account that is being impacted by market risk and market loss, the volatility of the market, could end up putting you in a very uncertain financial position. And everything we want to do is to help you create greater financial certainty. And there are some products, some financial products, and some financial concepts that we can show you and teach you that will help you mitigate and reduce risk and will overcome these down markets and their impact on your retirement.